So let me take the questions that we have on the Collegium and on how judges should be appointed and whether Parliament and whether government should have a role. So let's take it. In your opinion, should only a Collegium of Supreme Court judges appoint judges to the High Court and the Supreme Court? What do voters think? 44% say yes, only a Collegium of judges should appoint judges. They don't trust government or Parliament getting involved. 23% say no, 33%, which is a very big number, are actually confused. It's ultimately a technical issue in terms of appointments of judges. So 1/3 don't have an opinion, but 44% say only a Collegium should have a role in appointment of judges. Now, you know, the fact is, it may be imperfect, it may be imprecise, it may have problems, Anjali Bhardwaj, but 44% of the respondents say, "Aisa bhi hai, yahi theek hai. Let's not get anybody else and definitely not the government involved in this." There seems to be more faith, for good or for bad, in what judges would do than have political appointees trying to take decisions. Anjali.
I think, Rahul, that is very, very understandable. Also, if one were to recognize the fact that a very large majority of the cases in the courts do involve the government in one way or another. So I think that there is a very strong recognition from people that the independence of the judiciary in a democracy is of utmost importance. And finally, the judiciary has to have people's back. It has to make sure that whenever there is any violation of our fundamental rights, our constitutional rights, that the judiciary will function in an independent manner. Having said that, Rahul, and again over here, I want to bring back your transparency question, because I think that that's at the heart of all of this. Look, we do understand that independence of the judiciary is extremely important, but the problem has been that very often in the garb of and on the pretext of independence of judiciary, we have seen that the judiciary has been trying to hide behind a veil of secrecy, where we find that judges have been saying that because we need to be independent, we are a very special entity, therefore we don't want to be transparent. And I think at the root of the problem of trust, at the root of the problem that we are discussing in terms of even appointments, is the lack of transparency. Now, what is the transparency framework in our country? It's really governed by the Right to Information Act. And Rahul, you would know that the Supreme Court of India, the judiciary of India, has been one of the biggest champions of the Right to Information and the Right to Information Act. And yet, when people have asked questions from the judiciary under the RTI law, people have really not been given information. There have been so many questions that have been asked about the Collegium process. There has been, I am part of the campaign for judicial accountability and reforms. There has been a consistent demand to say that please make the appointment process transparent. And here, Rahul, I want to really tell your viewers that it is extremely important to really address the root causes of problems. If we want to keep jumping from one system to another in the hope that everything will go well, nothing will change if we go to the Collegium, from the Collegium to NJAC. We need transparency.
I think you make a very good point. I want to put that to Sanjay Hegde. The fact that judges expect high standards from citizens or from government, but don't hold themselves to those high standards of transparency, of accountability. They have an opinion on everyone else without following high standards themselves. Sanjay Hegde.
Well, essentially, you're putting the Bible to me. Judge not, lest ye be judged. So that is part of the problem. Judges do not drop in from the heavens. Judges have to the maximum extent possible, be transparent, and their working should be in a transparent manner. I do think that the judiciary would be well served if it had experienced communications professionals to explain things. The recent example is when the Collegium recommendation was as to whether Justice Verma had been transferred or not. That was not readable to the layman. So yes, there has to be transparency, there has to be clarity, but there are certain things which you can't be transparent about. Many of these RTI applications sometimes are, please let us have access to the judge's notes. Please let us have access to this, that, various things. There is a certain amount of balancing act, and the judges themselves went to the judiciary on the judicial side when there was an order of the Delhi High Court saying that you have to disclose your assets. And it is to the credit of the judges when they examined it on a legal perspective, they said yes. They have to
But Hitesh Jain, respond to that question about the Collegium, because you are arguing in favor of the National Judicial Appointments Commission, where the government also has a role in picking judges. But if you look at the responses in the voter from the citizens, they're saying no matter how good or bad, we'd much rather trust the judges to do this job much more than we trust the government.
Yes. Well, and you know why?
See, we have the numbers, whatever we have. But
Hitesh, just 1 minute. 1 minute, please.
One by one, Sanjay Hegde, let Hitesh speak.
Just one quick answer.
If you will look at the survey,
NJAC was supported both by the
33% of the people are not decided and 23% are not supporting the Collegium. So you have as high as 56% basically who are not supporting the categorical answer of Collegium. Now, as we have discussed, look at the different panelists from where you come. Ultimately, you are saying on the quality of the appointment. Ultimately, they are saying some appointments, these are all like government appointments. Third, we are expecting that there is a lot of delay. Fourth, there is an acceptance that the system has failed. Now, when the system has failed, when there is a delay, when people do not have faith in the appointment of judges, do we do the same thing and arrive at the same result? Or we have to change the track and think differently? See, we had a system that was working till 1980. Then thereafter, this judge's case, the judgment started, and the Collegium, over the last 3 decades, you have seen the Collegium system that is coming. Now, everybody is complaining about the Collegium system. Now, I think instead of being rigid, we should allow a new system to also. There can be, we can all, I mean, this is something where there has to be consensus. I strongly believe this is not about BJP, Congress, or India Alliance or NDA. It is about the country. It is about the judiciary.
Okay, Sanjay Hegde wanted to make a quick count on the issue of who should pick judges. Sanjay Hegde.
See, NJAC was supported both by the Congress as well as the BJP. Every set of politicians wants to have a control over judicial appointments. Now, my respectful answer as far as the Collegium is concerned is it's like it's like a cricket team being selected by cricketers and not by the state associations, which are political bodies. Otherwise, you will have Rajiv Shukla and some of the other BJP people who are in the BCCI together getting into saying 2 of yours, 2 of mine. Let people of law select those who will judge the game.
No, but it's not that simple, a binary either, Sanjay Hegde. The fact is there is a lot of bhai bhatidawad, judges picking judges, judges picking people they know, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. It's not as if these judges are doing a spectacular job. So, of course, there are very serious reservations in governments getting involved, but it's not as if the judges are doing a fabulous job either.
Rahul,
they have... Are you asking me?
No, just 1 second. Let Sanjay Hegde complete. I'm coming back to you, Hitesh, in a moment.
Well, let me put it this way. They have done a reasonable job, and it's not as if when there was a period of government appointments, we did not have brilliant judges coming out of that. Justice Krishna Iyer was appointed by the government of the day. So was Justice Chinnappa Reddy. It's only when Mr. Ram Jethmalani said that there are 2 kinds of judges, those who know the law and those who know the law minister. It was a reference to the late Mr. H.R. Bhardwaj. It is at that stage that the judiciary took upon itself the idea that, consultation means concurrence, and then the Collegium system came in, and that system has been working. There have been aberrations. See, as far as selection is concerned, you may not necessarily select the best of the best, but you select with some minimum standards. If you just leave it to an outside agency or abdicate it to the executive, then there may be no standards whatsoever.
No, but that's not what the idea was. The idea was never that only the government will pick. There will still be judges, including the Chief Justice, in the committee that decides. Hitesh Jain wants to make an argument. Hitesh.
Rahul, now look at the qualification for appointment of judges in the Constitution for the High Court and the Supreme Court. It is prescribed the qualification of minimum 10 years of practice in the High Court, like or 10 years as a judges. Now, you know at what age they appoint the judges in the High Court? The unwritten rule is 45 to 48. In Supreme Court, when are they appointing? Between 55 and 59. What is the retirement age of the High Court judge? 62. What is the retirement age of the Supreme Court judge? 65. Where have you arrived that a High Court judge has to be appointed only at the age of 45 to 48? Where have you got about the criteria that only in Supreme Court, if you are going to be 55 and 58, the Constitution never provided the criteria. The Constitution only provided minimum experience. Now, if you have rulers of the countries in different, world across, if you'll see, there are leaders who have come at 40, 45. I mean, you look at Rajiv Gandhi, he was the prime minister at the age of 40. Now, if you can be a prime minister at the age of 40, then, this is the problem with the Collegium, where they have devised their own set of rules. They have put their age limits. They do not follow the Constitution. And that is what the problem comes.